Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that's all about trying to find ourselves in this incredibly noisy world we live in. And here's the interesting part. It's not really about learning something new. It's about remembering something we might have lost along the way. You see, the source material we're looking at sets this really unique tone right from the get-go. It basically says, hey, this wasn't written to explain something to you, but to help you remember. It's all about tapping into this quieter, deeper knowledge that maybe we've all forgotten we have. You could almost say it's a guide for people who feel like they're already on some kind of path.
And that leads us to this really powerful question, which is, what have we forgotten? This right here is our real starting point. It's a huge invitation to look inward first, before we go searching for answers out there in the world. It frames this whole thing as a journey of rediscovery.
Okay, so where do we even begin with that? Well, the text suggests something interesting. It says we don't start with a bunch of facts or a list of answers. Instead, it talks about starting with postures and silences. The whole idea is that these practices are meant to awaken something deep inside of us, to kind of get us ready for the journey.
Now, the real heart of this whole story is a conversation. It's between three very different people who, and this is so modern, right? They've only ever known each other through screens. And now, they've decided to meet in a real physical place called Dayface. So let's get to know these three travelers.
But here's the thing. These characters aren't just people. They're more like archetypes. First, you've got the uncle. He's 72, a retired teacher, and he really represents that timeless wisdom, almost like our inner conscience. Then there's the nephew, the 32-year-old entrepreneur. He's basically the spirit of the modern age, searching for meaning, caught up in the speed and anxiety of it all. And finally, there's Roger, the academic. He's our stand-in for reason, trying to build a bridge between our chaotic digital lives and our fundamental ethics.
And the place where they meet, Dayface, is super symbolic too. I mean, think about it. It's the spot where the virtual us, the version of ourselves we build out of profiles and posts and messages, finally gets to touch the real us. It's like a literal shore, but it's also a metaphorical one.
So as they get to Dayface, there's this sign that greets them, and it immediately introduces one of the biggest themes of the whole story. It says, "Even the night carries a bright face here, as long as you do not extinguish the lamp within." Wow, right away it's telling us that the source of light isn't out there somewhere, it's an inner lamp, and it's our job to keep it lit.
And this hits the nephew hard. His immediate internal thought becomes the question for all of us, really. Is my inner lamp truly lit? Or have I just been living by the borrowed light of other people? Just reflecting what trends or influencers or society expects of me? It's a heavy question.
This brings us to the absolute core concept of this whole narrative. It's this idea of the two-way traveler. It is such a powerful metaphor for what it means to be human. And the uncle starts to explain it using something incredibly simple.
He quotes the poet Rumi saying, "Listen to the reed, how it tells of separation." And then he pulls out a simple reed flute, but he doesn't play it, he just holds it. And he says that this little reed has a story to tell, a story that is, deep down, our own story.
Think about it. The reed was cut from its source, from the reed bed where it grew. And in the same way, we are, in a sense, separated from our origin, from some deeper source. We all carry this hidden wound of separation. You could call it a kind of inner homesickness. But here's the beautiful part. It's from that exact wound that our unique sound, our voice, our art, our longing is born.
And that right there is what makes every single one of us a two-way traveler. We're living in this constant state of being pulled in two directions, aren't we? We've got one foot planted firmly on the earth, in the material world. But at the same time, our heart is reaching for the sky, yearning for something more, something transcendent.
We are literally the bridge between these huge dualities. Our entire life is basically a negotiation, right? It's a negotiation between our body and our soul, between the real-world demands of matter and our deep search for meaning, between the fact that we're mortal and this profound longing for something eternal.
So once you see yourself this way, as a bridge, the conversation naturally shifts. It goes from trying to just define our existence to trying to interpret it. And this leads to a really, really important distinction, the difference between just having external information and having true internal knowledge.
And this is where the nephew says something that I think so many of us can relate to today. He's like, so many books, so much knowledge, and I still do not know myself.
I mean, we have all the information in the world right on our phones, this endless stream of data, and yet, does it really help? A lot of the time, it just makes us feel more lost, not like we know ourselves any better.
The uncle's response to this is so gentle but so powerful. He tells his nephew, "My dear nephew, entire libraries cannot replace a single page of your own heart." He's pointing out that all that external knowledge is just no substitute for the wisdom that's already inside of us. He says, before we can even try to read the world, we have to first learn how to read ourselves.
Okay, so how on earth do you read your heart? Well, the uncle's advice is beautiful. He says the book of our heart isn't some ancient text we have to go out and find. It's a book that we are writing right now, just by living. Every joy we feel is a line. Every sorrow is a full sentence. We are the sum of all these sentences. We are the author.
And this really is the big takeaway from their whole conversation. First the human being, then the data. Before we even try to understand big T truth or the universe or some other complex system, we have to start with the human being. And that means starting with ourselves, because at the end of the day, all meaning gets filtered through our human experience. So as their first day there wraps up, Roger, remember, he's the rational one, the academic, he jots down this really simple but incredibly powerful note in his journal. It just says, I, we, he. And it's kind of the perfect summary of the whole journey, isn't it? It starts with the individual self, the I. Then it expands out to the collective, to community, the we. And finally, it reaches up toward the transcendent, the he.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that initial question. What is the destination? But now, after going on this journey with them, maybe we see that question a little differently. Maybe the destination isn't some final answer we get, or some place we arrive at. Maybe the destination is the journey itself. Maybe it's just the very act of being a two-way traveler, this constant, beautiful, and sometimes difficult journey between the earth and the sky.